I don't often talk about how to be happy. I actually gave up on being happy a while back, and I'll tell you why. So, if you didn't know, just under 4 months ago, I had nothing. Well, to a degree, I consider a roof over my head and a place to lay my head plenty, as well as food and water. So, to say I had nothing is just my pride and my ego wanting to make my situation seem worse than it was so that I can appear to be more impressive. So, a few months ago I was broke. We'll say that. I didn't have any money. As a matter of fact, I was like negative couple 14 something thousand in debt. Hey, I haven't been in any other situation, but for me that was tough. I was with this startup, did good, did not so good. Simply put. And happiness was so unavailable within the past 2 years, as a matter of fact, that I gave up on it entirely. And I mainly gave up on being happy because I was the person that predicated everything on whether or not I was happy. Will I make a decision to do whatever is necessary in order to grow? Am I going to do it? Yes or no? And usually that yes or no was predicated on if I was happy. I won't do it unless I'm happy. I won't do it unless I feel good. And I was wired that way for a long time. I was wired specifically to take action only if I felt good enough to carry out whatever it was that I had to carry out. So, I know a lot of you are like that. There are some people that don't care to be happy. There are some people that do care to be happy, and I want to speak to both of you guys because when I speak, I hope that you are intelligent enough to understand that I don't speak without having seen both sides. And as a matter of fact, I don't speak without having been in both sides. I just chose a side. Right? There's a lot of people in this world who will speak about matters without being able to see both sides, been in both sides, yet they choose one side without considering the other side. I hope that you trust me enough by just watching some of my last videos to see that I'm just raw. I actually just want to help. I want to help the 15-year-old boy that's looking out his window, waiting for something to come and save him, and he needs to feel less alone in this world. Like, I do it for him, and I guess I do it for you too. If you care about being happy, it's not necessarily the fact that you care about being happy, you just don't want to feel terrible. And the opposite of terrible is evidently happy. So you have low stress tolerance. You don't always need to be happy. Happy is an emotion. It fades. It comes in all at once, and as quickly as it comes in, it leaves. You can think of the ocean as the waves crash onto the shore and it returns. Happiness is the same thing, and that goes for pain. That goes for anything that you feel. It's temporary. Nature behaves in this way. That's the law of nature. It gets us accustomed to the impermanence of things. It teaches us the rule of detachment, the rule of acceptance, the rule of letting go. And for the most part, I've tried to steer away from my philosophical, spiritual, and psychological, conceptualized, abstract discussions that I used to have. And it's mainly because we got to be practical. And this is coming from someone who is deep in the abyss. Hey, for all my damn Mr. and Mrs. Spiritualists, hey, yes, I'm here in the abyss too. But you didn't know that. And if you're wondering what the heck the abyss is, then you don't need to know, because I'd recommend you stay out of the abyss. There is no need to dive deeper into the abyss. It does nothing for you, except opens your eyes to the realities of the world that not many people can see. And so, in some cases, it's more damaging. Backtracking, if you want to be happy, I get it. We want to feel good. It's not every day that we wake up seeking discomfort. There are a rare percentage of people in the world like that. I am not like that. I will do things that are uncomfortable on purpose because I know it's difficult and because I know I hate it. But that doesn't mean I enjoy it. I just do it because I know I hate it, and if I hate it, it will just make me 1% better because I have a track record of being extremely weak. And everyone's gonna say, oh, stop with the negative self-talk. Talk positively about yourself. It's really hard to speak positively about yourself when you don't have shit to back it up. I'm sorry. I'm not one of those people who will speak kindly about myself and positively when I don't have shit to back it up. I have a track record of failing. I have a track record of doing bad, giving up more times than not staying consistent on anything, can't follow through with anything. And so I've had to develop these countermeasures to combat my inability to take action sometimes. And so I get it. Like, this is coming from one of the weakest people that you'll ever meet. But I've devised countermeasures to counteract my weakness in moments where I can't stay consistent. I have a countermeasure in moments where I return back to this framework of, oh, I will only act if I feel happy. I have a countermeasure in moments where I'm starting to feel weak and I'm about to give up. I have a countermeasure. So when I wanted to be happy, and everything I did was predicated on if I was happy, it was mainly my focus of not wanting to feel terrible. I know that sounds pretty much the same, but there's a big difference from wanting to be happy and just not wanting to feel like that. There was so much pain within the last 2 years. It was unbearable at times, you know? Sometimes I look back and I have no idea how I got out of it. It wasn't me, I'll tell you that much. It was something greater than me picking me up by the neck and just dragging me. I was dead. I had no soul. I was completely empty, like nothing. I am telling you this because there's no way a feeble human, a weak, finite, feeble little human was able to survive those 2 years. The past 2 years have been freaking tough, man. And I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to say, like, hey, if you've been in tough times and nothing's working for you, maybe check this out. It might work, and I hope it does. And I'm trying to show you that, hey, possibly I have been in tough times too. So it's not just BS. Things weren't going well. And it was desire that really caused the most pain. And you hear people say, well, you should desire a better life for yourself. You should desire this. You should have a goal. I actually disagree. Desire creates expectations. Meaning, if you desire something, you expect your life to go a certain way and you expect life to kind of mold itself to you, which I don't know if this applies to anyone else, but for my case, that was not it. You don't say, I want this, and life goes, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, we shall deliver. It's not really how it works. Who are you to demand of life? Who are you to demand something that may affect the laws of nature? Who are you to demand something that can create a ripple effect that spreads into eternity? You are not the most intelligent human on planet Earth. You know what you want. That's all. You don't necessarily know what's best for you. Humans, we don't really know what's best for us. We're not the best judge of that. I promise you one thing, and it's we are not the best judge of what's best for us. We are just the best judge of what we want in the current moment, what we desire. For the most part, this desire that we have, and when I say desire, it can be anything. It can be your desire to be an entrepreneur, finite, tangible things. It could be your desire to be a millionaire. It could be your desire to have a car. It could be your desire to do this, do this. It could be a desire to be in shape. I don't give a damn. Whatever your damn desire is actually the reason why you're suffering. And I'll explain. When you desire, again, you set expectations. Life doesn't mold to you. Every action results in a consequence. Every decision made has a bipolar reaction. You cannot assume that whatever you want is truly best for your life. And here's a good example. If, when you were younger, you did not go through the pain and the trauma and the trials and the tribulations and the peaks and the valleys and the twists and turns that you went through, would you be the person you are now? The answer is probably not. And when you acknowledge that, that's quite frightening because, well, who would you be had you not went through those things? I don't want to think about it. If I didn't go through what I went through, I don't know what type of animal I'd be. I have no idea what type of man I'd be. It's terrifying to think about. So sometimes we don't know what's best for us. But I can tell you during those times of my life, I didn't want to feel the pain, but the pain didn't go away. It stuck because I had to go through it. Because life knows best. Nature knows best. Source knows best. God knows best. Not us. So, with that being said, if you want to become more happy in a chaotic world, you can start with eliminating desire. Stop desiring anything now. This doesn't mean you give up. There's a very fine line you walk. When you truly just give up on wanting anything, you have to be careful because this is the beginning of detachment. Detachment means discarding value that is tied to anything tangible, or not even tangible, just discarding the value that you attach to anything. When you can do that, you've detached. And so if you value money and you detach from money, the value you place on money has been discarded and you don't value it. If you value the sky and one day you no longer value the sky, you've detached from the sky. So it has no meaning. Something that once had meaning and value, detachment allows you to live without it, which is quite powerful, right? The art of detachment is mispracticed, I believe, because many people just detach, and what happens is they fall into this very desolate state where nothing matters because they've detached completely. There is nothing of value. There's nothing. They no longer have a why. Their why has been discarded of. And so they see the world in a way that is similar to this, which is, I no longer care. Nothing means anything.
No battery. No battery. No battery.
And it just doesn't mean anything. I've been there. I've detached so much from everything that I gave up for a certain period of time. And I define giving up like this. And the reason I like to define things is because I know nothing. And I don't like to assume I know things because I'm only human and I'm still trying to figure everything out as I go. And I'm humble enough to know that I know nothing. All that I know is that I know nothing. Giving up is either one, discarding of whatever goal, dreams, hopes, or aspirations that you currently have, or two, failing to take the proper steps to achieve a goal, carry out a mission, or complete a task. That's how I define giving up. If you're not progressing or doing anything, I'd say there's a form of giving up. If you are doing absolutely nothing and you no longer care about anything, and now you are entering a downward spiral, I would consider that giving up. So I've given up before because I didn't know how to walk the fine line of detaching and still being able to carry through with living in this world. And so I'll get into it because I know there's a lot of people that's facing that problem, which is why sometimes the most intelligent individuals, you find that they kind of have the hardest time carrying out the most simplest things. You'll notice that it's the not so intelligent individuals that can do the most basic things, like work all day. And it's because, to a degree, they're mindless. And I'm speaking very broad, it doesn't apply to everybody. If it applies to you, cool, your feelings shouldn't get hurt. And if it does apply to you, cool, your feelings should get hurt. Intelligence causes this lingering shadow, and it creates this creeping thought of, for what? All this for what? It means nothing. All this for what? All this for what? And it's always lingering. You see the world through a lens which you've sculpted, and it's a lens in which no one else can see the world through. It is your truth, but it's not so subjective. It's predicated on relatively objective truth, foundational and fundamental values that you can prove to be objective. So it's not all subjective. It's partially subjective. This lens in which you see the world is a curse to a lot of people, to a lot of intelligent people, because it's damaging. Your heart begins to ache when you look at the world and you see people behaving in a manner because you see yourself. You remember a time when you were once lost. You remember a time when your eyes weren't necessarily open. You remember a time when you were on autopilot mode and your empathy increases. Just a conversation with someone, you kind of sigh because it's like you can't help them. I just had a conversation with someone recently, and I don't speak about myself to this person because I've had a track record, because I've memorized that every time I speak about myself, this person would immediately speak about themselves and how they did something similar, almost as though they assume when I said it, it was to boast and brag. But what it actually was a moment where I decided to be vulnerable and trust this person. And what they did was they returned something to me which I saw what I saw was this person perhaps doesn't care. And mind you, this person is related to me and this person is much older than me. So, backtrack before we go on a whole nother spiral. Intelligence is a curse to a degree. And the reason why many people assume, well, if you're so intelligent, it'd be easy to carry out simple tasks. No, because the mind of an intelligent individual is completely abstract beyond measure. It's highly, highly complex. Their problem solving and solution finding capabilities are tremendous, and they can dissect and analyze everything. But they don't know how to make it practical, which is why I've transitioned from these very abstract, conceptualized, deep philosophical talks about existence and existential crisis and nihilism and omnism. I just don't speak about it anymore because I want to give practical tools for you to use. So, if intelligence is a curse, and you happen to be a smart person that is intelligent, and your eyes are open, and you've obtained a wisdom that may supersede the average human, and you've seen into layers of existence that other people haven't. And obviously, if what I'm saying makes sense to you, then welcome to the abyss. If what I say does not make sense to you, don't worry about it. And if you really want to find out for yourself, you'll go on Google and you'll find out and you'll start doing research. But I don't encourage anyone to enter the abyss. If you know, you know. If you don't, then you don't. So we mentioned that happiness is predicated on a desire for something, which sets an expectation that we want life to go a certain way and we want things to behave a certain way, right? Failing to realize that had our wishes been fulfilled, where would we be? What actions would we have taken? What words would we have spoke? What thoughts would we have created? And then how would that create a ripple effect that bleeds into eternity? We have no idea. You can change your life with one decision, just like that, right away. I can pick up a bottle of alcohol, drink it, get into a vehicle, and start driving and change my life. I can also wake up early and do something that's difficult and try and do that again repetitively, and that can also change my life. So we're one decision away from changing our lives. We're not a podcast away, we're not an audiobook away, we're not a book away, we're not a conversation away from changing our lives. We're just a decision away from changing our lives. And I want to give you practical tools and understand, well, why is it so hard for us to make this decision then? Damn it, right? And up until now, I've noticed the difficulty is strictly off of desire. It's difficult for you to make a decision to do something that helps you because you desire to feel a certain way. When you desire to feel a certain way, you don't really want to take actions to feel the opposite. If you want to feel comfortable, happy, and you want things to flow smooth, you're not going to take actions to do something uncomfortable. You're not going to take actions to do something that makes you annoyed or is very difficult because you like comfort, right? So now, if you are one of the people that need to be happy, I would highly recommend, and this is where I get into practical advice, steps, actions you can take. If you need to be happy to get things done. It's very difficult to be depressed or sad when you're grateful. It just doesn't really align. It's really tough because, and I made a whole video on how to overcome depression and anxiety, and I would love for you to watch it. It's one of my older videos. But what I did was I took depression and anxiety and I dissected it and analyzed it down to its root as best as I could to give you an explanation and understanding of what it is necessarily. And then I also try to give you some countermeasures and how to combat it. But depression, in a sense, is acknowledgement of the lack of something. And this is completely, I'm not speaking about people that have the clinical, like the illness, as though they have like a hormone imbalance. I'm not a neurologist, man. I just try to understand whatever I can understand. I understand depression as the acknowledgement of the lack of something. Why else would you be depressed if you didn't acknowledge that you lack something? If you acknowledge you lack something, that means you've been exposed to the possibility of more of that thing, or a different version, a better version of that thing. Otherwise, why else would you be depressed? So, if depression is the acknowledgement of the lack of something, then that tells you the opposite of that, to combat it, is the acknowledgement of what you have. Hence, gratitude. Gratitude is the acknowledgement of what you currently have. And we overlook so many things. And it's very similar to, you don't know what you have until it's gone. Let's say we have water. I've been in situations in my life where At my house, we have clean water to a degree, right? We take tap water and we filter it through this alkaline filter, and it alkalizes it, and it removes chlorine, and I mean, you could just taste the quality. And then I've been in situations where I've had to drink out of the tap, and I've noticed the difference. And in moments where I drank out of the tap, I became extremely grateful for the fact that I had clean water at the house, and I couldn't wait to obtain that clean water again. Like, I couldn't wait to go back home and drink that water, right? And so the human mind isn't wired in a way where we see what we have. Not in today's world and time, I don't think, because we have social media and these technological devices which gives us exposure to the endless possibilities of this world. Like, for example, if none of this ever existed, you wouldn't even know there was another country. And if there was, you wouldn't see a lot of pictures. You'd just be like, oh, I see a map, but I don't know what's over there. I don't know how Dubai looks. I don't know how Hawaii looks, right? But the fact that we've been exposed to it creates a comparison between this kind of unrealistic expectation of what we want versus our current circumstances. So exposure to the phenomenons of the world and exposure to all the great beauties of the world is actually what's creating the most detriment and doing the most damage to us right now. And so one, it's not like you can limit exposure to that, because you're going to keep watching YouTube, you're going to keep scrolling on Instagram, you're going to keep watching these movies, and you're going to keep getting exposed to situations, circumstances, and a life that you possibly don't have. And so you create this comparison immediately. And so, strangely enough, we don't compare and say, oh, wow, my life's so much better. It's like, oh, wow, I don't have that. Like, you could watch a movie and the dude could be in jail, and he could have a pretty wife, and you could be like, wow, I don't have his wife. Hey, you have freedom. You're not in jail. You're not incarcerated. You're not doing 10 years behind bars. You can walk, right? But our brains they're not wired that way. They're wired to create this comparison, which makes us acknowledge the lack of something, which creates this desolate state of depression. So, be grateful. And being grateful is weird because, well, what does it mean to be grateful? Well, what are the actions of someone that's grateful? They truly feel this deep emotional feeling. They feel this deep inclination to thank whatever it is that's beyond them for whatever they currently have. So take the actions that a grateful person would take. Do those things. From top to bottom, you can name 50 things that makes life worth living. You have a brain, or given that you're in good condition and you're not broken or messed up in any way, given the circumstances or the situation. But if you're healthy, I'd assume you have a brain, 2 eyes, a nose that can smell, teeth. You can taste, you can hear, you can speak. You have a throat, you have a heartbeat, and we're barely starting. That's like 7, 8, 9 things. You go down all the way, you can get into bones, fingers, ligaments. Like you have a lot, and you cannot underappreciate having a roof over your head and a bed to lay your head on and clean water to drink and food. You cannot underestimate that, because the winter is coming. We're nearing the winter season, and every winter my heart aches because I'm not yet in a position where I can create a shelter for these people that are freezing cold, man. Like, have you ever felt what it felt like to lay your head on the cold pavement? Ever? It's terrible. If you think it's cold when you walk outside, imagine having to trying to sleep on that cold pavement as the ice cold wind just blasts you and your ears are frozen, and the only thing that's keeping you warm is you looking for a blanket in the trash. Like, I don't give a damn what those people did in their life to screw up their lives. I don't care if they fell into drugs or alcohol. I don't give a damn what they did, man. No human should have to feel that. Who cares if that's their fault? Why should a human have to go through that? Would you put your child through that? The world has become so cold and chaotic. And I'm getting completely off track. I apologize. Look, practical advice number 1, I'm backtracking. Be grateful. And to be grateful, just acknowledge what you have. Acknowledge what you have and try to compare your lives to people who have it worse instead of people who have it better. And instead of being depressed, you'll be grateful. I can promise you that. You want to eliminate depression, start comparing your lives to someone who doesn't have anything instead of comparing your life to someone who has a lot. Either way, they probably don't have their soul. You don't know. You just know social media, which is very dangerous. Be careful. So step 1, gratitude. Fix your comparison. Swap it. Don't compare yourself to people that you think are doing better. Compare yourself to people you know are doing worse. And then you'll be so grateful for everything that you are, how you think, what you have, everything. Delete desire. Whatever you want, understand that it's not necessarily what needs to happen. And we don't like that. I get it. You don't like it because you want this, X, Y, and Z. You want things to behave according to your will, your law. You want things to go your way because you're a special freaking snowflake. I get it. Been there, done that. But things are going to happen exactly how it's going to happen. I don't know why, and I promise you, this is purely from experience. This is not because I read a book. This is not because I heard a podcast. I lived this, and I don't have an explanation, which is why I'm telling you there is something out here that's going to take care of you. I don't have an explanation, which is why I'm telling you that. If this thing that I simply call God because I cannot understand whatever it is, so attaching a name to it gives me an understanding of what this force possibly is. But I'm telling you, magic will find those with pure hearts, even when all seems lost. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know where, and I don't know when, but I know it will. If there's one thing that I can promise you, and I'm willing to bet everything, including my heartbeat, my life, and I'll back it up, is this one statement, which is magic will find those with pure hearts, even when all seems lost, and everything will happen exactly the way it's going to happen. And so long as you don't die, you will be okay. And you just have to live with that. This is where you start accepting. You just have to say, okay, well, I can't really do anything about it, so I will accept. And that would be the next practical piece of advice, which is to accept. And so to accept means to surrender desire. Surrendering desire means I accept the possibilities of what can be and what will not be. So if you're a person that's extremely focused on being happy, and I need to be happy in order to get things done, try those things, and those things should help you become more happy. We also feel our best when we progress. The reason you're not happy is because you see little to no progression. You see the opposite, downward spiral. As you start progressing, be it mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally, you will feel a sense of happiness because you feel as though you are slowly growing. You are slowly becoming the fullest, highest potential of yourself, which to a degree we can never become, but at least you feel like you're 1% closer. You feel like you're doing something which gives your life meaning. This is your why. Your why is, what's the thing that's keeping you from killing yourself? That's your why. Is it your dog, your family, your mother, your father, your partner? There's something that's keeping you from ending it. Use that. That's your why. Congratulations, you found it. Now, for all my people that have given up on happiness similar to me, if I describe my situation and circumstances and It sounds very resonating, and you can say that you've been through the same thing. I want to give you practical advice on how I've managed to keep going. I've been the person, like I said, that was all about happiness, and it was so unavailable that I had to let go of this desire to be happy in order to just try to do something, because I was so unhappy. It was nowhere to be found. I couldn't locate it anywhere, no matter what I did. It was just so painful. Eventually, I got to a point where I no longer care about happiness. And then I got to a point where I was able to accept happiness when it came. So like an iced coffee, a black coffee makes me happy. And so I'm able to accept this emotion when it comes now. I'm not terrified of it. Like, oh my gosh, happiness is here. No, 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 no happiness, no happiness. Otherwise, I'll just get back into that same behavioral pattern of, oh, I need happiness. I've been able to welcome it back. And I've allowed that to happen by doing one thing, which is surrendering my desire. I don't really care what happens to me. I don't really care how my life ends up. Closed-minded individuals who don't understand that statement will say you should care, it's your life. And the ones that get it will get it. I don't care what happens to my life. I don't care what I end up doing. I don't care if I die. I don't care if I'm homeless. I don't care if I'm meant to succeed and become one of the greatest people and the most influential people. I don't care. I just want to be used for something greater than me. And if that means I have to become homeless so that I can inspire people to never become like me, then I will die knowing I've done something good. I don't care. The whole point of me making these videos is because I'm going to die one day, and this is all that's going to be left. And before I die, I want to try to make this place a little bit better than, or I want to leave it a little bit better than how I came into it. People will hear that as a dream, and they'll be like, oh, well, not good dream. I just had a conversation with someone. I'm telling you, like just the other day, I just had a conversation with someone. And I said those exact words, and the response was just, cool. Like, yeah, you can do it. You'll be just fine. And like they get the point entirely, because I could tell perhaps they don't really care about the world. Perhaps they only care about what they care about, and that's fine. Some people care about what they care about, and I care about what I care about, which is helping the world. Some way, somehow. I want to feel like I've done something, right? So now for my people that have gave up on happiness, you've given up on happiness because the suffering that your own head brought you was too much to bear. That's mainly why you gave up on happiness. The most valuable time is the time that you spend in your head that you can't get back. That's the most valuable time. So, if you've given up and it's too painful to keep living, and you have no idea how you're going to do it, and you're looking out at the window late at night waiting for an answer, I hope that I can help you feel less alone, and I hope that what I'm about to say is going to help you. You have to understand that, one, you're still alive, and so it's just worth the shot to do something. And if you don't die, then that means you have a great story to tell one day, and you're going to tell this to somebody, and you'll inspire somebody, a friend, a mentee, a mentor, perhaps one day your future son or daughter, a cousin. This story will inspire someone, I promise. But you have to be able to live to tell it. And you have to be able to do things that makes the story better. Because believe it or not, this is just a chapter. and you're refusing to turn the page because you assume that these chapters are going to get worse and worse and worse. But you also fail to realize that a book builds from beginning, happy, downfall, trial, tribulation, defeat, defeat, lesson from defeat, win. You fail to realize that 99% of books end with a victory, a win, a lesson learned, and a greater life is the result of that, and a mission carried through. You're focused on the next chapter, which you assume is going to be difficult because your field of vision is too narrow. You cannot see past this barrier. Don't stop looking at it from a few months. Look at it years out, because in 10 years you will win and you will be successful and you will do everything that you said you will do. You're young. Don't be so freaking tough on yourself. And I get it. It's super weird hearing it from me, right? I'm only freaking 24, man, but I mean, you're young and you don't need it all figured out yet. Like, you can literally mess up for the next 10 years and you'll still be okay. You can do everything wrong and do nothing right for the next 10 years and you'll still be okay. And if in the case that you don't have 10 years and you end up dying sooner, then it didn't matter anyways because you're gone. But at least you tried. You can't be so tough on yourself. You have to accept that it's okay to mess up. But now, this is where you do have to be tough on yourself. It's after this acceptance. It's the acceptance of, it's okay, I'm gonna mess up, but I refuse to make these same mistakes. Now, this is where you have to put your foot down. So you pull, and it creates a contrast. It's almost paradoxical in a way, because don't be so tough on yourself, but be so tough on yourself that you refuse to make the same mistakes twice. You've made a list of mistakes. You have done a lot of things wrong, and you know exactly what to avoid to not make those same mistakes. And so do that. Avoid stupidity. And you have to sum up every ounce of courage you have. You have to grip it from your soul, the depths of your soul and spirit, and sum up every ounce of strength you have to just get out of bed. I get it. Trust me. I get it. It took everything out of me to just get out of bed. To get out of bed. It took everything out of me to want to keep breathing. And I am telling you, I don't know what's out here, but it's gonna freaking grab you by the neck and rescue you too. I don't know what it is. I wish I had a damn answer. But it's gonna rescue you too. I cannot be so prideful and foolish to think it was me. There is no freaking way I'm that egotistical. I did not get out of the depths of hell alone. Something out here that I did not see was governing me and preordained all of that. I have no idea. It's still fresh to me every time I speak about it. The only reason I'm able to still go today is because I've completely detached from everything. My why is helping. And a lot of people say that, but not a lot of people back it up. and I will back it up. I will put helping others above myself. I will be dead broke, and if I can help someone, I'm okay. I will suffer, because I have before in the past, for others, and I will continue to do that, because I refuse to let the world turn me cold, because when the world turns you cold, the world wins. You cannot be so selfish and self-centered to care only about you that you forget the fact that you can truly make an impact and leave this place a little bit better than when you came into it. I don't know how I'm gonna help. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but it will. And when it does, I'll come back to this same video and maybe shed a tear, because my whole life I haven't been able to figure out why or what. My whole life has been mistakes. My whole life has been failures. My whole life has been making the wrong calls. My whole life has been judgment. My whole life has been just nothing good. But I've always had this deep inclination, which is why I encourage you to find your why. Find the thing that's keeping you from killing yourself, basically. The idea that I can leave this earth better than when I came into it is my why. And I define your why as, like I said, the thing that keeps you from freaking killing yourself. I mean, that's a great definition. I mean, purpose, why? Yeah, it's the thing that's keeping you from killing yourself, right? You know what I mean? Some people be like that. Some people will say, that's dark, that's dark. I say, no, I'm just real. I mean, it is, yeah, it is that. Otherwise, you would have put one through the head already. So to be happy, detach, desire nothing, compare yourself to people doing worse, which reinstates gratitude. Accept what will be and what will not be. Living a purpose-driven life comes with your why, and if your why has to do with self-gain, then you'll get everything you want. If your why becomes something that benefits something bigger other than you, then you'll find everything you need. There's a quote. I don't know if it's a real quote. I just thought of it one day, and so I'm coining it for now until someone else coins it. But it goes, live for yourself and you'll get everything you want. Live for others as something greater than you, and you'll find everything you need. If no one in this world has said that before, then that is officially my quote, Thompson's quote, starting today, October 30th, 7:47 a.m. If you're on autopilot mode and you're half dead, you're not alone. I am on autopilot mode and I'm relatively half dead. I find no enjoyment in half of this stuff. The cars mean nothing. The external validation means nothing. The money means nothing. It's all a game, and so to me, it's easily worthless and meaningful all in one. Everything's a game to me now, and it's the one thing that's helped me keep going. So if you have a hard time keep going, you have to see life as a game and then play it, because you're a character in it. And so just try your best to play it. And eventually it just becomes fun when you start progressing, I promise. The world's chaotic, it's dark. People are quick to judge, slow to understand. Their empathy is not there. They will assume they know you, and they will have the courage, strangely enough, to comment on this this concept that they have of you, but not have the courage to change themselves. The world is dark and twisted, and the world is beautiful. Now, when you have been exposed to the dark and twisted, chaotic parts of this world, you've also been exposed to the light, the beauty, and the purest parts of this world. And you choose. Everything I've said, everything I do, anything I speak on, I've been on both sides. I can guarantee you that I will not speak on anything that I have not been through. If I speak on something, if I talk shit on something, if I dislike something, it's because I've been on the opposing side and that side. I've lived it. I've seen it. And I chose one, which is sadly something not a lot of people understand. Some people think that when you have an opinion, you're one-sided. You have to see the other side. No, have you ever thought that maybe they have seen the other side, but they just chose one? It's very difficult to be neutral. You can understand which creates the neutral. But just because you understand, now you have to choose. Once you choose, you pick a side. For example, let's say getting in shape is hard. I always use getting in shape because it's just the easiest thing to talk about. Let's say getting in shape is hard. One person can say, no, it's so easy. And the other person can say, no, you have to understand why it's so hard for people. Cool. So person number one is narrow-minded because it's so easy, failing to realize that it could be hard. Person number two is backing up why it's so hard. And most likely person number two finds it hard. We'll always campaign for the thing that we do. We'll always back up the belief that we have, right? That's how we're wired. So if I truly believe that you can get in shape and it's very easy if you just do things that are practical, then I will always campaign for that. You know, I won't campaign for working at a club. I will campaign for working a sales job because I've been in sales and it's taught me so much, and I've learned more in sales than I ever did in school. And so we're always going to campaign for the thing that we've done. We're always going to campaign for that. All that to say, when you understand something, you're neutral. But when you make a decision, you're set and you're focused. Every time I speak to people and they say, well, you have to see both sides, it's because they assume that I don't see both sides. And it's a direct reflection of themselves because there was a time where they couldn't see both sides. And so that assumption is now placed upon me. In modern day psychology, you call it projecting, which I really hate the term. It's just, hey man, they see you as a reflection of their previous self, and that's why they assume that you know or do not know certain things, which happens to be the case 10 times out of 10 when I speak with someone older than me. It's very rare that I meet someone older than me and they step into a framework of, hey, maybe this kid can actually teach me something. For the most part, every single person older than me has spoken to me with the framework of, maybe I can teach this kid something. And it's usually them teach me things that I've already known, which is why like I can come off kind of arrogant and cocky sometimes. Not saying that I am, or maybe I am, who knows. Maybe I am cocky, self-centered, arrogant, and just a terrible, selfish human. But for the most part, the lack of understanding is very difficult to witness in this world. People lack understanding. They don't have empathy. They don't care. And that's tough. Extremely tough. I get it. Be patient with people. Be kind with people. If you're not going to blame a child for breaking a vase because they're just children, don't blame a knucklehead for behaving like a knucklehead. The person doesn't even know they're a knucklehead, so be patient. It's been a long time since I've made videos in this space of existential crisis, and I don't often share my philosophical thoughts anymore. I really just talk about the game, which is just entrepreneurship, business, and just how to become better. I like to just make videos on practical stuff, but I had a conversation the other day, and I thought that this would help somebody. Because I forget sometimes people are in the abyss too. So, hey, if you're in the abyss, I'm here too. Don't feel alone. Trust me, and you don't have to worry if I'm there or not. No, like, I'm very deep in. You have no idea. So, you'll be just fine. Okay? I'll see you on the next one.